Rob Cameron introduces himself with a false, flirtatious smile. He boasts about his powerful family and their Moretti connections. Ava silently longs to escape this painfully dull dinner. Then the waitress brings drinks they never ordered, compliments of the house. Confused, Rob frowns and questions the waitress. She points toward a shadowy stranger at the next table. His expensive watch signals wealth, status, and hidden power. He sips slowly, calm strength tightening the muscles in his neck. Among the roses, he praises them as a beautiful couple. Ava flushes, stunned by the stranger's brazen interference. Their eyes meet, alive with questions and undeniable sparks. Rob's sharp cough drags her back to the awkward date. Flustered, Rob thanks him and hurriedly resumes their conversation. Then he produces a ring and abruptly proposes marriage. Ava freezes, stunned by the reckless, unexpected proposal. Rob eagerly describes their perfect future, complete with 2 children. Doubt flickers as Ava imagines how acceptance would change everything. One thought tempts her. No more miserable blind dates. Her family would finally believe their wayward daughter had settled down. Perhaps the mysterious stranger would fade into her orderly new life. But that father-approved future feels more like a prison. Breaking invisible chains, Ava suddenly rises, leaving Rob speechless. She rejects his stability, abandoning both money and expectations. Before leaving, however, she makes one final point. Her name is not Darling. Her name is Ava. Rob protests, but his words never reach her. Her retreating heels sound like music to another man's ears. He watches her leave, clearly entertained by the spectacle. Each sharp click carries her farther from impossible expectations. Then her confidence wavers, and she suddenly stops. Responsibility, and Angie's inevitable reaction, makes her sigh heavily. Angie's predictable fury tightens everything inside Ava. I'm doomed anyway. Why not enjoy something extra? She thinks. One clumsy step sends the world tilting beneath her. Strong arms catch her amid a swirl of rose petals. The unexpected touch jolts her sober and quickens her pulse. It's the same stranger, smiling as he checks on her. Embarrassed, Ava nods. Somehow he understands her miserable date. He tucks back her hair, and a new spark ignites. Among the roses, he offers her an entirely different story. She feels the danger through every fiber of her body. His casual touch and commanding arrogance scream walking disaster. Getting involved with him would change her life forever. Instinct warns of his iron grip and an inescapable game. Every instinct says this charming man means trouble. One step toward him could destroy her familiar world. Memory, or premonition, warns that escape may become impossible. Yet her smile reveals that danger only excites her. The door slams, sealing them inside their private world. Their lips collide, and every other thought disappears. Every nerve craves his touch, his closeness, his surrender. His tightening embrace deepens the kiss into something dangerous. He pulls her closer, gripping her neck possessively. One sudden move pins her against the wall, gasping. He claims her lips again, swallowing every sound. His hot hand slips beneath the fabric. She trembles. She bares her neck, overwhelmed by his burning kisses. This untamed man could burn her whole world down. Her body burns, leaving no strength or desire to retreat. He knows exactly what he's doing, and she follows willingly. Then her body trembles, recoiling from the unbearable intensity. The movement resembles a frightened animal trapped by passion. Real terror fills her eyes when something cold touches them. A hidden gun instantly shatters the haze of desire. She shoves him away, demanding answers about the weapon. He stays commanding and calm while her heart pounds wildly. With one smooth motion, he hides the gun again. He sets it down, then pulls her close once more. His gentle hand promises protection and pushes fear aside. His blue eyes swear that she is safe beside him. Breathless, she gives him one hesitant, trusting nod. She whispers that perhaps they rushed into this. He simply extends an open hand, inviting her onward. His disarming smile urges her to leave fear behind. Running water fills the bathroom with cleansing steam. Freshly showered, she emerges wrapped in a soft robe. The empty room leaves her confused and slightly worried. She searches the room, then suddenly senses his presence. He embraces her from behind, whispering, "You smell incredible." Then she realizes he still doesn't know her name. His intimate question carries only genuine curiosity. Embarrassed and tender, she struggles to reveal her name. Keeping things unreal, she playfully calls herself Juliet. He becomes Romeo, smiling wickedly as she sits down. Her cynical voice demands distance, despite their shared experience. She wants one unforgettable night, without promises or morning memories. But Nick is already thinking ahead. Most women change their minds by morning, while desire still burns. His finger traces her lips, both teasing and promising. Reading his intentions, she suddenly pulls him closer. She rises above him, her open robe emphasizing the challenge. Her hands explore his robe, eager to remove every barrier. Her smile promises a night neither of them will forget. He accepts her game with an equally fiery gaze. His twitching smile betrays excitement and anticipation. In one swift motion, he seizes and pulls her close. Their roles reverse. He hovers above her before the kiss. His finger brushes her chin, silently asking if she's ready. Casting off the robe, he whispers that she awakened his inner beast. His kiss claims her neck, dragging them into shared desire. Her body shuddered at the unexpected force of his advance, and her breath caught between bliss and astonishment. The trapped words are her last attempt to resist the force pulling her under. Behind her closed eyes, the world becomes an endless whirlpool of sensation. A brief cry rising from the deepest part of her being pierced the sudden silence. And in that instant, reality itself seemed to sway, opening a path into the abyss. She suppresses a moan, but her sinking body no longer obeys. He only smirked, seeing how her resistance merely heightened his anticipation. And then, defeated by her own passion, she whispered what he had been waiting to hear. His low laugh rolls through the darkness, rich with triumph and dangerous desire. His piercing gaze sweeps over her as he leans in. Then his lips covered hers, demanding and possessive, making the world around them disappear. His whisper about her beauty dissolved into the air, mingling with her broken gasp. Every creak of the bed echoed their movements, weaving pain and rapture into a single dance. A tear slipped from the corner of her eye and vanished into the blazing blush on her cheeks. Every meeting of their bodies became deeper and stronger, erasing the boundaries between them. Her fingers dug into his back while their skin burned in a furious, primal union. For a moment, she felt like nothing more than a puppet dancing beneath an unseen foreign hand. Her cry vanishes into the room, carrying pleasure, desperation, and the sense that something has been lost forever. For one brief moment, resistance breaks through the fog in her mind, but it is already too late. Dawn exposes the empty room, leaving only echoes of last night. Crimson marks across her skin cruelly reveal what happened overnight. Before the mirror, she feels the whole world can read her skin. She hurries toward escape before the sleeping man awakens. Still, she pauses for one final, emotionally guarded look. He sleeps like an innocent angel, and the irony cuts deeply. She smiles bitterly. Yesterday, he seemed like an all-powerful devil. Memories return like claws, dragging her body and mind backward. Her pleas and his demanding whispers surge vividly through her memory. His dark stare and ruthless promise echo like a sinister lullaby. Despite everything, she admits she has never felt such consuming passion. No strings mornings often bring regret, and many women reconsider, but her smug smile suggests she is nothing like those other women. Bending over the bedside table, she hurriedly wrote something down, leaving her mark on this fleeting story. A lipstick kiss seals the note like a secret signature, a wordless goodbye with a hidden message. After one last look, she walks out into the silent dawn. Then he stirs, the soft movement breaking the fragile silence of the morning. His blue eyes open, focusing on the empty space beside him. "Julie," he whispers, slowly realizing she and the night's illusion are gone. He sits up fast, runs a hand through his hair, and spots the note. She really left. He studies the note, wondering what secret it contains. He lifts the note as scattered bills drift onto the sheets. Hundreds of discarded dollars suggest this was more than one night. Only a playful note and bright lipstick mark remain behind. Nick freezes, his mind going blank for a second as the meaning sinks in. Instead of anger, he smirks as danger ignites in his eyes. He raises his phone, clearly ready to begin the game. Dressing, he reports that he knows only her false name. A helpful hand held a flame to his cigarette while he continued issuing orders. The spark flared, illuminating his determination. He intended to solve this mystery at any cost. Surrounded by men kneeling before him, he was commanding and cold, every word sounding like an order. He describes his target, a short, green-eyed brunette in her 20s. Entering his luxury car, he orders a search through hotel footage. The door slams, sealing him inside with his thoughts. The driver gives a brief confirmation. The order will be carried out. The caller finally asks the obvious. Why is he searching for her? Wounded yet amused, he wants revenge on the Juliet who paid him. His thoughts return to their bath and her hatred of commitment. Her sad eyes revealed exhaustion from becoming what others demanded. He understood her longing to escape everyone else's expectations. Her words echo because his own desires are always pushed aside. She wonders whether he suffers from the same pressure. Reading the question in her eyes, he says softly, "Then stop thinking and just enjoy yourself." Her heartbeat quickened in anticipation of something unknown, responding to his words. Beyond the glittering city, only their night of freedom exists. "Wow," she breathes, as he asks about her newfound freedom. Their eyes meet as he asks how she wants to spend it. A promise appeared in her eyes, and a soft, tender smile played upon her lips. But the sweet moment vanished when reality struck with deafening force. Her father rages over the ruined date, family shame, and missing night. Cornered by his cutting accusations, she hears, "Have you lost your mind?" She rejects the arranged marriage, but he roars, "Shut up!" His furious face asks how much longer he must tolerate her. A shout tore from his chest, drowning out every attempt at resistance and every word. He attacks her past, parties, and drugs, while she insists it is over. But the past clings to her like a shadow, hardening her expression with bitter, exhausted resolve. "From now on, you're grounded." His words sounded like a sentence, and he spun around to leave. "Wait, what about school?" Her desperate cry hung in the air, but never reached his ears. The slamming door isolates her inside the icy silence. His handprint burns on her cheek, marking another shattered dream. Only the stranger's question echoes. How do you want to spend it? Strangely, the stranger's words had given her more freedom than every promise her family had ever made. Step by step, she drew away from the world that was breaking her. Underground, amid velvet roses and bullets, shadow world destinies are decided. Their power spans Russia, Sicily, and the concrete jungles of New York. The Caponelli dynasty's future rests with young lion Nick Caponelli. But even in this world of rules and obedience, there are those who dare to defy them. Jane demands whether stalking women is truly future boss behavior. Her anger knows no bounds. This is Jane, Nick's loyal assistant, who is now completely beside herself. Leo, Nick's other assistant, watches with a grin as Jane finally reaches her breaking point. Nick calmly questions why her talents still haven't found the woman. Jane explodes. How can she find one woman from such a vague description? A heavy sigh becomes an admission of helplessness. She has tried everything within her power. She traced the woman's car, but the city swallowed the trail. The woman became a ghost, disappearing without a trace as if she had never returned to New York. Nick mockingly questions her abilities, but Jane fires back, pointing to the real problem, his own recklessness. Nick finally questions his obsession. Finding her proved unexpectedly difficult. A vision flashes. She stands beside him among flowers, touching his shoulder. Her mysterious gaze, green as emeralds, pierces through his thoughts. A faint smirk tugs at his lips. He can't deny the effect she has on him. Leo drags the furious Jane away, trying to calm her rebellion while she continues venting her anger. And that is when the humiliating truth comes out. The great Nick Caponelli was paid for the night. The revelation sends Leo into loud, mocking laughter, while Jane tries to hide her own grin. Their cutting remarks and brazen jabs, every blow to his dignity, only deepens his irritation. Nick vows to return the money, until an authoritative voice interrupts. Footsteps silence the room as everyone watches the approaching figure. Gio Caponelli arrives, and the family patriarch instantly kills the laughter. Leo starts revealing the affair, but Nick and Gio silence him. Maintaining his outward calm, Gio casts his son a reproachful look, clearly displeased with his behavior. Pinning Leo down, Nick promises personal affairs won't affect his duties. Gio calmly orders Nick to marry, prompting questions about his visit. Gio slowly turns toward them, and the seriousness in his eyes foreshadows something grim. The barely audible clink of cup against saucer pierces the tense silence like an omen of disaster. His face turns to stone as he delivers the warning. There is a rat among us. Surprise flashes across Nick's face. He can't believe what he has just heard. Gio says their shipments keep vanishing while a traitor profits. Regretfully, but without hesitation, he places this dangerous mission on Nick's shoulders. Leo swallows nervously as one of the men present tries to volunteer, eager to prove himself. But Nick beats him to it, a spark of anticipation lighting his eyes as he accepts the challenge. With a faint rustle, black gloves slide over his hands like a second skin, ready for action. A predatory smile touches his lips. The traitor will pay dearly for his betrayal. Above the dark city, helicopter blades turn heavily through the night silence, whipping the air into violent gusts. Uniformed figures hurry across the landing pad, loading crates under the commander's watchful eye. High above, a golden-haired puppet master watches the city's lights. Smirking, he scrolls through his phone and selects another victim. Cold blue light fills his eyes as he makes his decision. Then a face appears on the screen, a new target for the merciless game. The game is on, and an invisible threat settles over the city, promising pain and destruction. Soon, crimson fire engulfs the sky amid explosions and chaos. Among smoking ruins and burned-out cars, Nick stands over bodies hidden beneath sheets. Drops of blood slowly run down his black glove, silent witnesses to a brutal night. He studies the blood on his glove in grim silence, searching the stain for answers it cannot give. "We finally cornered those rats." Leo's triumphant voice rings out, satisfied after a month of exhausting pursuit. Nick does not share Leo's excitement. The interrogation produced nothing but low-level pawns who knew almost nothing. Even so, Leo doesn't lose hope and anticipates a new lead that may prove crucial. "You know Kyle Archer, right?" His question sounds like a lock clicking open on the next mystery. The photograph shows a tycoon's carefree youngest son, born into security wealth. He appears beside that woman, surrounded by strangers and suspicious connections. "I see," Nick says quietly, as the conspiracy finally begins to take shape. Nick orders everyone to finish and attend tonight's party, amusing Leo. "What now?" Leo asks with curiosity and a faint smirk as he looks at his companion's irritated expression. Leo pokes his cheek, teasing him to finally admit defeat. His irritation rises, and a powerful hand clamps tightly around the Joker's collar. Nick smirks and vows to find the woman who escaped. Elsewhere, a young woman studies papers in soft morning light. Her pen scratches hurriedly across the parchment while stacks of ancient volumes rise around her. Her pen stops mid-word, a memory freezing her hand in place. She hears old pounding and her past self begging forgiveness. Tears fall as she cries, "I'm sorry, Dad." But the vision disappears, leaving only a bitter aftertaste and a gaze fixed somewhere in the emptiness. A sudden knock at the door pulls her from her thoughts, and her eyes instantly focus. The door quietly opens, and a familiar figure appears on the threshold, asking permission to come in. It is Bella, whose bright smile immediately drives away Ava's darkest thoughts. Outside, evening settles over the city, while Bella continues raging about Ava's father. Bella condemns the month-long punishment. Ava says it has happened before. "Last time I was confined for 6 months, Ava adds quietly, bitterness filling her voice. Bella recalls how New York once called Ava Moretti a drug addict. The words stir a painful memory, and Ava only presses her lips together more tightly. An awkward silence hangs between them, heavy with words neither wants to say. Bella sighs, realizing that she has touched a sore spot. "Hey," she says, gently patting Ava's shoulder in an attempt to comfort her. Bella suggests forgetting the sad thoughts and going out for some fresh air. But Ava still remembers that she is grounded. Bella insists her father has cooled off and accepts any consequences. Taking the confused Ava by the hand, Bella playfully urges her to hurry and get ready. A sly, expectant smile plays across Bella's face. "Somewhere absolutely amazing," her friend answers mysteriously, leaving Ava confused. A heartbeat later, the city's noise crashes over them, and glittering lights promise something huge. Soon, Ava is standing in the middle of a dazzling party filled with laughter and clinking glasses. Now completely transformed, Ava can't hide her shock. "Bella, did you seriously bring me to a yacht party?" Ava blurts out in disbelief. Bella calls Kyle Archer's yacht party New York's hottest event. "Let's leave," Ava protests, but Bella pulls her deeper inside. Pretending not to hear, Bella races off for drinks and leaves Ava stranded. Ava suspects Bella prefers partying and waits for a chance to escape. Ava takes one step, then freezes when a familiar silhouette catches her eye. Her heart skips a beat. Could it be? A man stands directly before her, his presence there seeming completely out of place. Another man joins him, and Ava unintentionally catches every word of their conversation. "We're here to pick up girls," the newcomer says casually, earning nothing but irritation from his companion. Leo says Nick is tormenting Jane and should forget Juliet. Amid the bustle of the festive night, she senses someone's movement, someone's presence, and turns around. A knowing smile plays on Nick's lips, loaded with secrets and promises. Nick answers with a casual goodbye and walks off, leaving Leo baffled. His gaze sweeps across the crowd, cold and calculating, promising something more than a chance encounter. Then, Ava recognizes an unwelcome ghost from her past. Jimmy stands before her, wearing the same insolent smirk, and her lips barely whisper his name. She refuses to talk, but Jimmy keeps dragging up their past. Her anger erupts, and she accuses him of doing nothing but taking pleasure in her weakness and vulnerability. With his eyes closed, he nods and cynically admits that he has no intention of lying. Jimmy admits he loved seeing the precious princess beg for drugs. Then his hand slides downward, hinting at something that could return her to a world of oblivion. His offer to relive the old days sounds like a poisonous whisper, and a tremor crosses her face. Then another woman steps from the shadows with a firm "No!" breaking the spell around Ava. The refusal echoes like a battle cry, because Ava is fighting both Jimmy and the demons inside her. A second later, panic and pain twist across her face. A piercing scream tears from her chest and shatters the silence of the night. Jimmy clamps a hand around Ava's arm, fury twisting his features as she struggles to break free. But then a calm smile appears, promising that the conflict will soon be resolved. Nick steps in and seizes Jimmy's wrist, squeezing until he cries out. "Who the hell are you?" Jimmy asks through gasps of pain, and Nick only smiles mysteriously. A cryptic smile touches Nick's lips as he casually calls himself a passing Romeo. Ava freezes, her eyes widening with instant recognition and shock. In the middle of her stupor, Jimmy's painful cry cuts through the silence. Nick still holds his arm tightly without loosening his grip, while Ava watches, paralyzed. A thin, almost invisible smirk plays across Nick's face, foreshadowing something more sinister. Nick holds him effortlessly, his calm grip making Jimmy's desperate struggle look pointless. "Who are you?" Jimmy gasps. Nick only shrugs. "Me? Nobody important." That look again, that proposition. Just a Romeo passing by, now carrying an entirely different meaning. The realization strikes Ava with renewed force and makes her shudder. It's the hotel stranger, and his presence thrills and unsettles her. Jimmy struggles with all his strength while Ava slowly approaches, trying to gather her thoughts. Enraged, Jimmy swings at him in one wild, desperate motion. Fear floods Jimmy's eyes when he realizes there is nowhere to run. A heartbeat later, metal flashes. A revolver is in Nick's hand, aimed straight at Jimmy. Nick smiles coldly. Going home with a stomach wound would be unfortunate. Jimmy stares in horror, unable to believe Nick is threatening him in front of everyone. Nick watches him with a cold smirk, and recognition suddenly flickers across Jimmy's face. Another wave of pain or humiliation tears through Jimmy, making him grit his teeth. Unable to take any more, Jimmy jerks away and storms off, cursing, threatening to make Ava pay. Left alone with her racing thoughts, Ava hears Nick approach. "Long time no see." He speaks her name, savoring every syllable. and the sound pierces Ava through and through. "It has," Ava manages, fighting to hide how shaken she is. Through forced laughter, she pushes out the name she once gave him, making her dislike perfectly clear. Reveling in her reaction, he merely smugly and calls her cruel. His mockingly tender confession that he has searched everywhere for her sends a chill through Ava. With mock surprise, he asks whether she has forgotten their special encounter. An image flashes through her mind of that morning when, without even realizing it, she had bought him. Ava quickly turns it into a joke, trying to conceal her embarrassment at the unwelcome memories. Nick only lets out a theatrical sigh and pretends that her words have hurt him. He says her deep sleep tempted him. Flustered, Ava quietly apologizes. A playful smile returns to his lips, promising something new. Then he reaches for her and gently draws her closer. He kisses her wrist and offers a date she can barely refuse. For one suspended moment, the party disappears and the world narrows to the space between them. Their fingers intertwine in a light touch that sends a shiver across her skin. Emotion spills over as he suggests that they have dinner together. His piercing, expectant gaze demands an immediate answer. Mesmerized by his boldness, Ava can barely gather her thoughts. A faint, almost unconscious smile crosses her lips. He waits for her decision, but her frozen expression leaves only one question in his mind. Why? She takes a step back, and the click of her heel echoes across the terrace. She makes it clear. Their night was a mistake, not a romance. A barely visible, predatory smirk touches her lips, concealing deep bitterness. Behind a mask of charm, she challenges him, certain that all he wants is to repeat the past. His words die on his tongue, and open confusion appears on his face. Her bitter suspicion is confirmed, and she presses her lips together, holding back her emotions. He manages only a useless apology, already far too late. She turns away, her voice icy as she declares that she has no interest whatsoever. Walking away, she says he can easily find another victim. Her slender figure disappears into the crowd, dissolving among the lights of the nighttime city. Only one biting question rings through her mind. What the hell had she been hoping for? Deja vu strikes. Jimmy once shattered her heart the same way. He had enjoyed her humiliation, watching the precious princess beg for mercy. Again, she believed things could be different, and repeated her old mistake. The present tightens around her throat, leaving only pain and the wreckage of shattered hopes. Her retreating back becomes the final period in a story that ended before it could begin. One moment of confusion, and the night swallows him as if nothing ever happened. He remains alone, lost in a whirl of thoughts where romance was merely a distraction. After all, far more serious matters demand his presence and a cold, clear head. Old rivals and past shadows await him at the table of fate. The conversation turns to the Russians, whose aggression and expansion are rapidly gaining momentum. The situation demands immediate action and a new balance of power. Then comes a proposal capable of changing the rules of the game: forming an alliance. The man hidden in the shadows greets the proposal with a cynical smile. After all, trust that has once been broken is almost impossible to mend. Old wounds are still bleeding, and tension fills the air. A threat looms behind every back. But he seems unshaken, his gaze remaining cold and perceptive. He knows that words alone won't be enough to break through their icy distrust. He proposes binding the alliance through their children's marriage. The move is unexpected and makes his opponent lose his composure for a moment. A marriage alliance, the perfect move in their brutal game of chess. A cunning smile lights his face, foreshadowing a new chapter in their ruthless game. But in another, far darker place, tools of a very different kind lie waiting. Here, pain is the only companion, and fear has settled into every moan. Every movement and every sound makes the victim tremble in anticipation of fresh torment. A certain gray wolf mockingly whispers threats, savoring another person's despair. He is a hunter toying with his prey before finally pushing it into the abyss. Blood has already soaked through his clothes, evidence of a long and merciless torture. But even in this hell, complete solitude is impossible. A voice interrupts the bloody spectacle. Someone's whisper slides into his ear like a venomous snake, delivering new instructions. His new assignment is a marriage alliance, drawing a blood-stained grin. His eyes burn with a mad violet light, promising that the fun will be bloody. Meanwhile, in a completely different world, another man is tormented by pain of his own. His clenched teeth and bloodshot eyes speak of unbearable rage. It began with curiosity flickering beneath a glass of whiskey. Then she entered the bar and consumed his complete attention. From the tips of her wavy hair to her elegant shoes, every detail about her is flawless. A rare, genuine beauty worthy of the canvases of old masters stood before him. But despite all her allure, something about her wasn't right. She seemed bored to the point of yawning, yet it was impossible to look away from her. Had she really come here to meet a suitor like that? He signals the waitress and catches her attention. "Please bring 2 whiskeys to that table," he says, indicating the woman. The blonde man seems to be trying to rescue her from boredom by drawing her into empty conversation, but the beauty's face still shows nothing except distant indifference. Yet something about this little game doesn't sit right with him. Her gaze pulls him in like a magnet, promising mysteries and hidden depths. Then, with a whisper of fabric, she rises, leaves her date behind, and heads for the exit. Every step and every click of her heels takes her farther from him, but he can't look away. The resolve in her eyes says everything. She needs no rescue, least of all from him. A faint smirk plays on his lips. Interesting, he thinks. And that alone is enough to ignite the thrill of the chase within him. The city night spreads beyond the window like a silent witness to their secret. She lies beside him, breathing deeply, her tired face filled with an inexplicable charm. He looks at her, at this sleeping embodiment of mystery, unable to tear himself away. One moment, she seems so fragile and frightened, like a delicate creature. The next, she is bold and defiant enough to take his breath away. And just as quickly, she becomes a playful, mischievous girl. Maybe that unpredictability is her greatest weapon, the reason he cannot look away. He wonders what tomorrow morning will bring. Will she beg him to stay? His eyes trace her sleeping face. If she does ask him to stay, he would not mind at all. Morning brings only a kissed note and the words, "Good luck," and a whole scattering of bills carelessly tossed across the sheets. The realization slowly pierces him. Was this payment for the night? Was he really nothing more to her than a passing thrill? His fist clenches, reflecting the full depth of his shattered expectations and wounded pride. But his resolve remains unshakable. Despite the pain, he will find her at any cost. And so the search begins, becoming an obsession for him and a heavy burden for his assistant. Her face, captured in countless photographs, becomes the symbol of his pursuit and his fixation. But time passes, and the shadow of her disappearance only deepens, dragging him into despair. Even Jane, his loyal assistant, reaches her limit and begs him to stop and admit defeat. The voice of reason whispers that chasing the ghost of a single night is pointless. But a fire burns inside him, refusing to die and recognizing no obstacle. Then, after months of hopelessness, chance offers him an opportunity almost as if in mockery. Aboard a luxury yacht beneath muted jazz, he feels that fate is finally on his side. His gaze catches something familiar, something that makes his heart stop in his chest. It is her, his dream, his obsession, appearing from nowhere like a vision. The world freezes as he takes a step toward the reunion he has long desired. And the name he hasn't spoken for so long slips from his lips like a breath of relief. An invisible thread woven from memories and anticipation hangs between them. He carefully takes her hand, feeling the softness of her skin and the delicate beat of her pulse. And within that touch lies a promise, an invitation into a new and unknown world. Her cheeks flush, and she lowers her eyes shyly, though interest is visible within them. He knows he needs this second chance, and he won't lose it, no matter the cost. Unshakable confidence fills his gaze, predatory and seductive. But she isn't a naive girl, and she voices her suspicions openly, challenging him. She turns slightly away, but his apology sounds like an admission of defeat, unexpected and insincere. Her final response ends his game and their entire exchange. Her departure strikes him like a public slap at a grand ball. He never chases prey that doesn't willingly enter his trap. Yet something breaks inside him, overriding pride and principle. He suddenly grabs her wrist, stopping her step, and her stunned gaze meets his. Her confusion mirrors his question. Why can't he let her go? A faint smile touches his lips, filled with awareness of his own game and his own weakness. A note of indignation enters her voice, but his reply disarms her with its unexpected directness. His sincere offer of something deeper touches an unexpected part of her. A business card now promises an open door and another chance. Blushing, she hears him whisper that his intentions are serious. Their breaths mingle, and the entire world briefly disappears. He withdraws, leaving her with his number and pulsing doubt. He fades into the crowd, but his presence still lingers. Nick smiles, knowing he must make her return willingly. Morning sunlight now illuminates the old walls of Ava's university, marking the start of a new day. Though simply dressed, Ava's determined stride radiates strength. His business card burns in her hand like yesterday's lingering ember. She refuses temptation after only just reclaiming her freedom. And yet the thought of him is already flaring inside her soul like a spark. His sincere words keep pulling her toward the unknown. She walks on, trying to drive away the spell, when a sharp shout pulls her from her daze. Freezing in mid-step, she turns around, and in a single instant, her fragile world collapses. With a deafening roar like a predator, a luxurious scarlet sports car stops at the curb. In the morning sunlight, the golden rim of an expensive watch flashes on a powerful male wrist. She doesn't need to see his face to feel inevitability close its icy grip around her heart. And there he stands after stepping from the car, smiling smugly like Victor. The red monster, his car, continues to gleam, confirming limitless power and danger. He is here, and every gesture and every look screams that she is doomed once again. Her fragile peace collapses beneath his unbearable presence. He appears like a mocking ghost from the past. Every nerve rings with despair as her hand, trembling with anger, points at him and demands answers. How did he find her and invade the life she rebuilt? His casual answer destroys her illusions and ignites her fury. He thinks he has broken her, but instead, he awakens an ancient strength. Under the humiliating spotlight of curious stares and judgmental whispers, her rage only grows stronger, promising revenge. She fights his lies, but his icy response confirms the betrayal. His touch isn't tenderness. It destroys her remaining illusions. Before the roaring crowd, his poisoned affection turns trust into hatred. His touch isn't tenderness. It destroys her remaining illusions. Before the roaring crowd, his poisoned affection turns trust into hatred. The shouting crowd closes in as she is dragged away. One hard shove, and she is inside the luxury car like a prisoner. Before the curious crowd, his smile promises escape into uncertainty. His quiet chuckle irritates her, while her desperate demand that he drive away is born of pure panic. The door seals her escape, while his gaze promises more. Through half-lowered eyelids, he mockingly studies her confusion. She hides her fury as he notes her obvious discomfort. She orders him to stop, but he invades her space. The suddenness of his movement makes her heart stop, and her eyes widen in a silent question. The seatbelt clicks as he asks her not to hate him. Confusion reddens her cheeks as she struggles to understand. He mistakes her furious embarrassment for butterflies in her stomach. She fights the belt while he savors complete control. The engine roars, carrying them away as introductions begin. Nick, he introduces himself, while she only sighs, realizing this will be a long and exhausting drive. His detailed knowledge of her life unleashes outrage and fear. One hope remains: he doesn't know everything, though danger feels real. Her Hudson threat only earns an amused chuckle. "Don't worry," he says. "This will be a proper, old-fashioned date." And the words carry a challenge. She treats today as a one-time accident that won't repeat. But then something in the air changes, revealing new and dazzling horizons. They stand in the middle of a stable, bathed in golden light and surrounded by noble horses. "Are these all yours?" she asks, hearing about his childhood estate. A younger sibling. The thought stirs a quiet ache in Ava before the horse's snort pulls her back. A dark, powerful horse appears beside her, making her gasp. The girl immediately reaches toward the horse, forgetting everything else, and asks its name. He warns that the difficult horse challenges even experienced riders. But ignoring his warnings, she gently strokes the animal's muzzle and insists that he is an absolute sweetheart. A sincere smile, full of tenderness and delight, lights her face. Watching her, he only gives a crooked smirk, as if foreseeing something. "Want to ride?" he suddenly asks, and her eyes light up with an eager, "Yes!" But her joy turns to embarrassment when a helmet is placed on her head. Sharing one saddle embarrasses her. "Shouldn't we ride separately?" With complete confidence, he says that he couldn't let a beginner ride alone, making her suspect hidden motives. A sly smile curves his lips. "Come on." And in the same instant, his heel strikes firmly against the horse's side. The horse surges forward as the wind whistles deafeningly, leaving her utterly bewildered. The ground rumbles beneath the hooves, and a terrified scream tears from her throat. "Ah!" The wind roars as terrifying speed makes her panic. But he only smirks with complete confidence and doesn't slow down. Closing his eyes, he promises, "You will always be safe with me." His gaze pierces her as if reading her thoughts, and a drop of sweat trails down his forehead. Radiance spills across the horizon, painting the world in gold and crimson, and the sight is truly magical. "Incredible. Isn't it beautiful?" Ava breathes, staring at the sunlit landscape. Nick looks at her and admits, "When I ride like this, I feel free, like I'm flying." His smile softens. That's why I thought you might enjoy it too. Hoofbeats thunder around them while Ava struggles to process the moment. Her cheeks flush, and she lowers her gaze shyly, a faint smile playing on her lips. The sky burns above them, and amid that beauty her inner voice whispers, "How strange." During their picnic, he asks about her dream of practicing law. She overcame her father's objections by proving a family lawyer had value. He still sees me only as a tool for political marriage. He listens carefully, his gaze showing deep understanding and silent sympathy. Then Nick's expression brightens and Ava's heart stops. I just found a solution to your problem. His hand brushes her cheek, and for one charged second, the entire world seems to freeze. Date me, Ava, he says, and the proposal sweeps the ground from beneath her feet. His blue eyes lock onto hers, promising, "It will set you free." Her eyes widen in shock, unable to believe what she has heard, and she is left speechless. Late that night, beneath the full moon, she returns to her mansion and whispers, "I'm home," but her thoughts won't leave her in peace, replaying the events of the evening over and over. He had managed to break through her doubts by promising the freedom she had long desired. Ava cannot understand such selflessness. Why would he do this for her? The answer comes through a tender touch, a wordless confession of feeling. His smile is mysterious, and his gaze pierces straight through her, leaving behind an unspoken question. Her heart pounds wildly, drowning out every thought, while embarrassment sets her cheeks on fire. Ava cries out and bolts upright, torn from the dream. Realization washes over her. It was all only a dream, yet its echoes feel painfully real. Trying to calm herself, she insists that this isn't her first experience, but the agitation refuses to fade. Her thoughts tangle together, leaving only an indistinct premonition behind. As she chooses an outfit for their next meeting, she considers everything from a dress to riding trousers. But halfway down the corridor, a sudden thought stops her cold. She feels completely helpless, not knowing what she should do. Without warning, the door flies open, and an ominous figure appears on the threshold. His cold, piercing gaze promises nothing good. He harshly demands to know why she returned so late, giving her no time to explain. An irritated click of his tongue only confirms his displeasure. He dismisses her excuses and reminds her he opposes her studies. He orders her to attend tomorrow's important meeting and cancel everything else. After delivering one final warning about punctuality and appropriate clothing, he disappears. The door slams through the mansion, leaving Ava alone with the crushing news. Her father's message lists only Hotel C, 19th floor, 6 o'clock. Arriving early at the imposing building, she looks up nervously at its glittering facade. She obsesses over why her father suddenly included her in business. Her anxiety rises, and she bites her lip as she tries to control her nerves. But hope also flares amid the worry. Perhaps this is a life-changing chance to prove her worth. The elevator doors on the ground floor open silently, inviting her upward into the unknown. Watching her reflection, she proudly believes her father finally recognizes her. The mirrored doors begin to slide together, cutting her off from the lobby when a sudden impulse makes her instinctively catch the edge and stop the elevator. Someone is approaching. Politeness demands that she hold the door, and she turns toward the approaching silhouette. The last man she expects waits by the elevator, freezing her world. It is Nick, and he looks every bit as shocked by the encounter as she is. Speechless, she nearly drops her purse when he questions her presence. Nick pins her against the wall, his hand striking the elevator panel sharply and making her flinch. He repeats the question, leaning close enough to burn her skin. His fingers barely graze her cheek while his eyes search hers for an answer. His teasing gaze examines her elegant outfit and obvious expectations. Her heart races when she realizes what he thinks. Ava is dressed for a date. She immediately rushes to deny it, feeling color flood her cheeks in embarrassment. She protests softly, wondering why she would need another man when the man she wants is already here. His expression softens, freezing for a moment in silent surprise. With a relieved breath, he pulls her closer and feels the tension leave him. A soft, almost weightless kiss touches her neck. Her eyes widen at the surprise, and her cheeks burn even brighter. He looks straight into her eyes and asks a question filled with nothing but resolve. Without waiting for an answer, he presses his lips to hers, making the world around them stand still. They share a brief, mutual kiss. She remembers she must meet her father. He smiles and says they should hurry. They exchange one last quick kiss. Then they pull apart. She steadies herself and checks the floor. The elevator nears the 19th floor. He releases her hand. The numbers change quickly. A chime sounds and both step back. The doors open. Her father is waiting outside, surprised. Ava struggles to explain. Her terrified gaze meets her father's cold, assessing stare. Nick shields her while Ava realizes the men already know each other. Her father's demanding voice orders Ava to greet the man she was just moments away from kissing. Then her father identifies Nick as the Caponelli family's future leader. In an instant, Ava's world turns upside down, exposing the cruel reality prepared for her. Only then does Nick grasp the full scheme. A marriage has been arranged for him, too. Seeking to strengthen their positions, the family clans have decided to unite through a profitable marriage. One of Nick's brothers listens with a faint smirk, as if he already knows what will come next. A lighter flame flashes in the darkness, symbolizing the birth of a new and dangerous idea. Beneath the starry sky, Nick's brother asks a question that could change everything. Without lifting his eyes, Nick speaks words filled with hidden meaning and concealed resolve. "I'm going to ruin this wedding anyway," he declares, a dangerous spark burning in his eyes. A devious smile lights his face. No bride means no wedding. Sensing disaster, his brother vainly tries to warn their father about Nick's plans. From birth, his fate had been predetermined and sealed by ancient clan ties. But Ava dreamed of something else, a marriage for love, a free choice, not another set of chains. And as Nick looks into her eyes, he makes a decision. He will free her from this burden. At that moment, Ava still has no idea that her would-be savior is already in the room. The dream he intends to give her seems so distant, yet so real in his eyes. He knows her personality perfectly, and even imagining how she will react to his words amuses him. Then, the name he has been repeating silently takes on a stunning new meaning. The woman before him is Ava, his future bride and alliance key. The unforgettable woman is also his arranged bride. His heart stops, then pounds with a rush of relief and anticipation. Now, fate and family business have made their union unavoidable. Ava. Her name slips from his lips again like a faint breath. She, meanwhile, sits at the table, lost in unhappy thoughts, and gives only a weak nod in reply. Her misery concerns him, but the scheduled wedding strengthens his resolve. The tense dinner draws to a close, and all four of them prepare to leave. Pleased with the arrangement, Ava's father launches into a pompous speech, until she cuts him off. It turns out that even her own father never told her about the engagement, shocking everyone present. "My decisions are for the good of the family," he snaps, demanding his daughter's unquestioning obedience. Seeing a father treat his own daughter this way leaves him silently shocked and deeply outraged. His fists clench unconsciously beneath the table, betraying the tension rising inside him. Ava shoots to her feet and ends the conversation. "Excuse me, I'm not feeling well," she says, and the sound of her heels echoes through the room. "Come back here at once! Where are your manners?" Ava's father's furious voice shakes the air. "Sir, allow me to speak with her," he says confidently as he rises from his seat. Without waiting for an answer, he follows her at a quick pace, determined not to leave her alone. Her heels strike the floor as she rushes away, desperate to escape. The nightmare she escaped now threatens everything she rebuilt, but a strong hand catches her and prevents her from going any farther. Nick tries to calm her, but rage and pain take over. "You knew about this, didn't you?" She accuses him of plotting, but he insists the engagement surprised him too. Even then, he insists he had no idea the promised woman would be her. She remembers his smiles, convenient appearances, and knowledge of her file. To Ava, it looks exactly like a carefully staged game, and she does not believe a word. He begs her to listen, knowing how ridiculous his explanation sounds. She answers with a bitter smile. "You enjoyed yourself, didn't you?" Tears run down her cheeks, mingling with that twisted, unnatural smile. Nick protests, but her fury rejects every explanation. "Leave me alone! I never want to see you again!" tears from her chest, and she bolts away again, leaving him standing in the middle of the empty corridor. He closes his eyes, feeling the world around him collapse beneath the deafening sound of her retreating footsteps. Elsewhere, in the dim glow of a bar surrounded by glasses and empty bottles, another dangerous story begins. She sits alone amid noise, unaware someone nearby is watching. Her eyes hold a weary sadness, but a spark of defiance still survives beneath it. That secretive night ends with him embracing a woman he barely knows. By morning, he whispers of love that flared without warning, playing a game of his own. Cruel fate binds them through a marriage neither knew existed, and while she drowns in the foreboding of lost freedom, someone watching from the outside finds it amusing to observe a soul struggling to escape a golden cage. Spend her entire life as someone else's puppet? Exist only as a tool in another person's hands? It is a living nightmare, and she tries to bury it beneath another strong drink. But a new voice interrupts her solitude by ordering another of whatever she is already drinking. Her face makes it clear she wants to be left alone, but the stranger is not discouraged. He only smiles, as if he can read every thought in her mind. Then come words that pierce her heart like a dagger. How could he know? Who is this stranger who dares to be so brazen? He comes closer, his voice sounding like a whisper carrying a secret. "Hello, Ava." "I'm Alec Asnikov," he says, dangerous amusement flashing in his eyes. By repeating her name, he emphasizes how much he knows and raises even more questions. He is clearly not someone who wandered into the bar simply for a drink. His name means nothing to her, but the way he knows her is completely inexplicable. His laugh drips with contempt. "The Undertaker didn't tell you, did he?" "The Undertaker?" The nickname echoes through her head, giving rise to horror and confusion. Then he names her fiancé and attaches that ominous nickname to him. Her fiancé, Nick Caponelli, is the heir to one of the two largest mafia families in America. A man capable of ending countless lives with a single movement of his hand. Now she recognizes Nick as the Undertaker, hiding danger behind charm. Anxiety twists her face. Could what she has just heard really be true? The bartender mocks her. You thought he was different. You were fooled. Confused, she stares at him. Why reveal all this? And what does he stand to gain? He smiles as if savoring her fear. How could I not care? Their alliance would devastate his family, and he won't allow it. Realization strikes her. This man also belongs to a mafia dynasty. Yet manipulating them for himself makes him no better than Nick. He takes a slow sip, calmly weighing his next move. With the sharp clink of his glass, he makes a decision. Fine. If she does not believe him, she can ask Nick herself. His reaction will tell her everything. Leaning closer, Alec lowers his voice. There is something she was never meant to learn. And Nick won't be able to say a word about it. Because once Ava discovers the secret at the heart of this marriage, she will never marry Nick. But what secret could destroy everything? His smile only widens. If she is that curious, he is willing to tell her. Alec leans in to reveal the truth. Nick Caponelli is actually... But at that exact moment, a sudden movement and a deafening impact tear through the tense silence. Her shocked gaze meets Nick, who has appeared without warning. Furious as a storm, he grabs the bartender by the collar. What are you doing here? The bartender, violet light glowing in his eyes, hisses. You need to keep her on a shorter leash. Nick grits his teeth, barely containing his fury, and only a dull grinding sound can be heard. Then he snaps and raises his fist, his angry shout disappearing into the whistle of the blow. Another man rushes in and stops Nick, urging everyone outside before the situation explodes. His voice is calm but commanding as he tries to rein in Nick's fury. Ava answers with a faint, challenging smile. You have something to tell me, don't you? Her fingers tighten around Alec's hand, making the challenge impossible to miss. Cold sweat runs down Nick's face as he fights for control, his jaw locked tight. The man leads them away beneath the bartender's watchful eyes. Ava glances back, an uneasy premonition darkening her face as something unspoken hangs in the air. With a devilish smirk, the bartender casually calls after her. Make sure you ask him about the secret. With a casual wave, Alec calls after them. Ciao! Realization hits Ava, and she hurries after Nick. The car speeds away, leaving the bar and blurred city lights behind. A suffocating silence fills the car, and Ava turns away from him. Nick breaks the silence. You are in serious danger. Never speak to him again. No! Ava cuts him off. I'll speak to whoever I want. You have no right to control me. Nick urges understanding, but Ava demands to know their situation. Which situation? Everyone knew my marriage, while a stranger knew you better? Nick freezes as her accusation sinks in, his fist tightening. The squeal of tires tears through the tense night silence, leaving only an echo of confusion behind. Inside the car, an oppressive silence hangs between them, heavier than any unspoken word. Trying to push aside her own emotions, Ava falters and forces out an apology. Pain and exhaustion fill her eyes, along with a plea she cannot bring herself to say aloud. Nick cautiously reaches out and touches her, admitting that his own feelings may have confused her. Nick begs her to let him explain before it is too late. Her hand rests against his chest and feels the frantic rhythm of his heart. She is astonished to realize that his heart is hammering wildly and that he himself looks incredibly anxious. Pale and sweating, Nick can barely speak her name. Ava gives the faintest smile and agrees to listen, sensing something like sincerity in his anxiety. With his head lowered, Nick finally tells her how his father revealed the arranged marriage only days earlier. Having secured Ava, he arrives determined to destroy the marriage. But fate delivered the most unimaginable twist. She turned out to be his future bride. For him, the revelation was a dream come true, pure delight. Yet in his happiness, he failed to consider her feelings, and that now causes him deep pain. He gently squeezes her hand and admits that her sense of betrayal was completely natural. He realizes she thinks he knew everything and played her. "But Ava," his voice breaks with desperation. Tears stream down her face as he swears that he has never lied to her. He swears every word was true while she wipes away tears. He assures her that everything he said was completely true, and the claim echoes strangely in her heart. His feelings, he swears, are as genuine as the tears running down her cheeks. But a sudden blow shatters the idol and throws her out of her dreamlike world. A figure in an expensive suit falls to the floor beneath her father's furious shouts about disgrace. "You humiliated me before the Caponellis," he roars, ignoring her mother. Her feelings mean nothing to a father obsessed with status. A rough jerk beneath her chin forces her silent as he orders her to stop complaining. The marriage is a settled fact, her father's decision, and her feelings don't matter in the slightest. She is used to being treated like an object, used to this pain and this helplessness. To him, she is a silent doll and another symbol of power. Resistance feels pointless. She cannot defy her father, her family, or the fate chosen for her. She considers surrender until someone calls her name through the despair. The memory of his words and his sincere feelings flares like a bright spark of hope. Ava accepts the inevitable marriage until a firm no interrupts. A strong arm wraps around her, offering not merely support but protection. He looks straight into her eyes and urges her to think about her true, deepest desires. But the same uncompromising no appears in her father's eyes, for he accepts no objections. Her father grips her, declaring only his interests matter. She vows to marry only the man she freely chooses. Her father merely gives a crooked smile, viewing her defiance as something that will be easy to break. A new day dawns, bright and beautiful, though darker shadows are already gathering around Ava. Along with it comes a magnificent bouquet, the symbol of someone's tender, or perhaps not so tender, feelings. Nick confidently brings a bouquet chosen especially for her. She steps through the grand gates, and his gaze instantly catches her silhouette. "Ava!" Nick's voice cuts through the morning and makes her flinch. He offers her flowers and a ride, hinting about her late return. A faint smile full of smugness and hidden intent plays on his lips. Then he sees the ominous bruise around her wrist. "Ava, what happened to your wrist?" Nick catches her hand, but she immediately pulls away. She flinches, anxiety filling her eyes, then turns away to hide her pain and humiliation. Like a cornered animal, she quickly conceals the evidence of the recent violence beneath her sleeve. "You wanted freedom and claimed your feelings were real," he accuses. Tears shine in her eyes, but desperate resolve burns within them. "Then set me free right now." Cruel satisfaction lifts the corners of Nick's mouth. "Isn't this what you wanted, Ava?" Drops of sweat emerge through the fury and despair on her face, distorting her beautiful features. Freedom suddenly means facing a roller coaster's terrifying height. "You wanted freedom," he smirks as the car plunges. The drop steals her breath amid screams of terror and delight. Her fingers dig into the safety bar, the only support she has in this dizzying flight. Afterward, Ava accuses Nick of attempted murder. He laughs it off. She remains terrified and breathless, while he watches in confusion. His question seems only to emphasize her bewilderment, and it contains not a trace of pity. She admits her father dismissed amusement parks as wasted time. With an alluring smile, he promises an unforgettable day. She stares at his palm, anticipating something thrilling, and frightening. Their palms meet, sealing an unspoken pact and opening the door to a day neither will forget. Nick delivers an unforgettable carnival day of exhaustion and carefree laughter. Amid carnival chaos, Ava's mischievous smile promises even more madness. When celebration overwhelms them, Nick answers her challenge with a smirk. Without a single word, they enter a game whose rules have yet to be invented. Noticing her pain, he gently removes her aching shoes. Then Ava notices a happy family walking hand in hand beneath the glowing rides. She whispers about dreaming of happiness in a normal family. She jokes that another life would have brought her here more often. Nick reminds her their shadowy lives redefine what normal means. Holding her hand, Nick paints a picture of another life: sunrises, long walks, quiet evenings, and simple freedom. His hopeful words brighten her face and make her heart tremble. For once, Ava believes him as their worlds begin touching. A sudden impulse startles her, shattering the dreamlike moment. Now weightless in his arms, she hears his victorious homeward suggestion. Blushing, she protests and struggles, but he holds her firmly. He carries her over his shoulder while she mutters his name. Then the sharp click of heels cuts through the night, announcing a new arrival. Ava's heart jumps when she hears a familiar call that instantly fills her with alarm. A radiant, sharp-eyed woman approaches with fearless confidence. Realization washes over Ava, and her lips barely whisper, "Jane?" Nick, fearless only seconds ago, suddenly goes pale as shock and annoyance widen his eyes. Jane's sharp footsteps announce approaching drama like pounding drums. Then, without warning, her leg shoots forward and delivers a kick that echoes through the night's silence. Ava freezes in Nick's arms, unable to believe the scene. Jane lashes Nick with accusations of betrayal and disloyalty. Nick stays outwardly calm, but one drop of sweat betrays him. Then, Jane points straight at Ava, a sly and almost sinister smile spreading across her face. Her fingers clamp around Ava's wrist like steel and drag her closer. With shameless confidence, Jane openly flirts with Ava and casually calls Nick a loser. Caught in the center of the awkward scene, Ava feels trapped, frightened sparks flashing in her eyes. Ava tries to smooth things over, shyly explaining that everything happened so fast. But Nick's interruption makes Ava freeze on one thought. His family? They soon enter an elegant restaurant filled with sparkling glasses. Completely overwhelmed, Ava can only wonder how her evening went off the rails so quickly. What does this even look like? Some kind of insane eating contest? Reading the confusion on her face, Nick apologizes for the chaos and decides to explain. Nick introduces Jane as his childhood friend and younger sister figure. His younger brother Leo competes with Jane to devour food fastest. Nick calls them business colleagues, while Ava grows increasingly suspicious. Realization flashes in her eyes. That means these two are somehow connected to the mafia as well. Despite their mafia ties, their warmth sharply contrasts with Ava's family. As champagne arrives, Ava's gaze accidentally crosses the room. A sharp sense of déjà vu immediately pierces her. She has seen this waitress somewhere before. The memory hits Nick at the same time. This is the restaurant where he and Ava first met. With a smile, he asks whether she visits the establishment often, but Ava is far too stunned. Her face shows complete bewilderment, as if she is trying to grasp some important detail. Nick casually confirms that not only the restaurant, but the entire hotel belongs to him. Then Ava understands. That night, he wasn't there by chance, but as the owner. Nick says Leo usually handles business, but instinct drew him there. Looking at Ava, he adds almost romantically that perhaps fate itself brought him there so they could meet. The romantic moment shatters when Nick's sister loudly complains that his sugary tone is unbearable. Leo whispers that ruthless Nick now seems like another personality. Nick clenches his fist and digs his fingers into the napkin, his patience apparently nearing its end. Nick stuffs Leo's mouth, claiming his hungry brother is babbling. Laughter fills the restaurant as Leo fights off the food. With a heavy sigh, Nick suggests that he and Ava leave, but his brother makes another mocking sound. A faint smile plays across Ava's face, hiding her true thoughts. The shared awkwardness quickly turns into loud, genuine laughter that fills the room. Glowing with happiness, Ava admits that she has always dreamed of a family this strange and this close. Nick gives her a thoughtful look, as if trying to decipher her sudden joy. Even his usually serious face softens with a gentle smile that eases the tension. The teasing ends when Leo tries warning Ava and gets interrupted. Night slowly descends over the city, swallowing the bustle of the day in its somber silence. Beneath a lone street lamp surrounded by moths, a desperate shout rings out. "Why won't anyone sell to me?" In a dark alley, one desperate man demands answers and waves money. The other, forbidden to help, barely contains his irritation. Furious, the other man demands to know who dared give such an order. Fear twists the young man's face, and he can't force out a single word. Unable to withstand the pressure, he turns and runs away, leaving his companion confused. In helpless rage, the man kicks something with all his strength, producing a dull thud. He paces back and forth, muttering that the entire city seems to have conspired against him. Then Nick's icy gaze flashes through his mind, chilling him. Despair overtakes him, and he bites his lips, realizing that he can't endure this any longer. Another stranger offers what Nick has desperately sought. The stranger shakes a packet filled with white powder and offers him a deal. The man's eyes widen at the opportunity's unimaginable price. "Who are you?" he demands, but the stranger calmly reassures him. "I need help distributing my product," the stranger says coldly. The offer promises a free share for helping his criminal business. He quickly reaches for the packet with a predatory grin. "Of course," the stranger replies, violet eyes promising disaster. Like moths, victims chase deceptive light toward inevitable destruction. "I'm counting on you," he says before leaving, cold and calculating hunger hidden in his smile. Meanwhile, far from that dark bargain, a very different story unfolds in a world of bright lights. "It's beautiful," she whispers as she looks at the nighttime city, glittering with lights across the horizon. He apologizes for dinner's chaos. She assures him she loved it. It was her liveliest evening, full of laughter and awkward stories. "Our families are both mafia, yet they feel completely different." Her voice trembles. "Don't you hate me for it?" "We didn't choose to be born into mafia families," he replies calmly, gazing toward the endless horizon. The city lights are reflected in his eyes, and a faint shadow of thought crosses his face. Then he smiles and says quietly, "Once, yes, I did resent it." He once hated his terrifying family and dreamed of escape. His fist tightens, but newfound hope changes his future. He says there is no point in being angry about something that can't be changed. Anger cannot help. Only protecting loved ones truly matters. Deep understanding mixed with faint amazement appears in her eyes. He smiles, breaking the tension, and suggests escaping the cold. She needs a moment to process everything she has heard, while a gentle breeze brushes her face. She raises her gaze to him, full of admiration. She admits hope feels impossible when someone is truly trapped. She calls him a strong man, and the words seem to illuminate them beneath the night lights. He gives only the faintest smile in response, his gaze far away. Then their hands touch, and the light contact sends a shock through them both. His gaze moves to her lips, and a tender question hangs in the air. Emotions rage within him that he can no longer restrain, and a blush covers his face. She laughs and calls him funny and a little embarrassed. And finally, with a soft sigh, she agrees. The bridge, illuminated by the city lights, becomes the witness to their long-awaited first kiss. An eager spy at the window suddenly disrupts their romance. It is Bella, shamelessly following Ava's love life to the obvious confusion of Ava's brother. Soon, Ava and Nick arrive at the house, holding hands tenderly. And there is another farewell kiss, which Bella watches with undisguised delight while making excited noises. Ava's brother asks about her boyfriend. Bella reveals he is her fiancé. But then Bella's strong hand pulls Ava along, bringing confusion to the girl's face. Just then, Ava feels a sudden jerk, and panic begins creeping into her heart. Ava's brother Vincent whirls around, his eyes widening at the name. Nick Caponelli? His hand closes around his sister's shoulder. Your fiancé is Nick Caponelli? Ava struggles against his grip while Bella watches smugly. Unable to contain himself, Vincent sharply shoves Bella aside, and her triumph instantly turns to surprise. He spins around and storms out of the house without looking back, leaving the girls bewildered. What happened to him? Ava whispers, still unable to believe what she has seen. Meanwhile, in a shadowy office, the head of the Moretti family sits immersed in thought. A glowing number calls, asking how the plan is progressing. Everything is going smoothly, he replies calmly. The marriage will take place as planned. The caller calls him a terrible father. He dismisses the criticism. A moment later, the call ends. A predatory smile barely touches Moretti's lips. The door flies open with a deafening crash, and Vincent storms in. He is breathing heavily, and uncontrollable fury is written across his face. Vincent, his father says without emotion. Have you forgotten how to knock? Vincent steps forward, his voice shaking. Are you serious? You're marrying Ava to Nick Caponelli? Moretti cites the Russian threat, but Vincent shouts that it changes nothing. Vincent protests. She knows nothing. His father's icy voice silences him. Vincent pales as paternal authority tightens the noose around him. He still defends Ava's right to know, but Moretti remains unmoved. Vincent clenches his fists until his knuckles turn white, unable to comprehend such merciless cruelty from his father. Don't you pity her? Vincent asks, facing Moretti's frozen stare. Vincent remembers Andrew's killer still hiding within their shadowy past. And that smiling killer is Nick Caponelli, the man whose shadow now hangs over them all. Deep beneath the city, equally sinister events unfold. Through smoke and dimness, two men casually discuss their conspiracy. Inside an illegal underground casino, a white-haired man watches everything. A subordinate reports successful shipments. Their leader orders everyone to wait. But a question about the boss from Russia visibly alarms his companion and breaks the appearance of calm. The man's frightened gaze betrays his concern. He either withheld something or clearly said too much, arousing suspicion. The white-haired man thinks silently, hiding every intention behind indifference. The door crashes open again, revealing a man surrounded by an entourage in formal black suits. Their polished shoes step confidently across the filthy floor, promising an inevitable clash and an unavoidable conclusion. Everyone freezes as Vincent confronts the white-haired man's mocking gaze. Without moving, the man sarcastically welcomes his unexpected visitor. Vincent stands firm, while armed men prepare behind him. Asked their purpose, Vincent's companion mentions something left on their territory. Smirking, the man returns their severed, bloodied hand. The contrast between the white bag and the scarlet blood horrifies everyone present. But the white-haired man only smiles condescendingly, finding their reaction highly amusing. The owner of the hideout keeps his expression unchanged and merely presses his lips together more tightly. He warns that next time, the arrogant man's own hand will be inside that bag. Alex, however, seems only entertained and dismisses the threat like a child's prank. Then he casually lowers himself beside Vincent, and his tone becomes even more threatening. The blade of his knife already touches Vincent's neck, leaving a tiny but ominous mark on his skin. He promises that next time he will play for real, with lives at stake. Vincent's men immediately reach for their weapons, ready to defend their leader. The clicks of triggers echo through the room, and the tension reaches its peak. The entire room becomes a battlefield, with everyone aiming at an opponent and surrounding the two men. Despite the deadly threat, Vincent coldly asks whether Alex has declared war on him. The white-haired man lowers the knife, but his smile only widens as he gives a thoughtful reply. Alex admits that Vincent is currently at a disadvantage because he is standing on someone else's territory. He rejects full war for now, favoring a targeted strike. And that strike, he says, may hit Vincent's weakest point: his fiancée. The sound of a blow cuts through the air when Vincent sharply stops him from finishing. But Alex merely enjoys the effect he has created and studies his opponent's reaction. Vincent leans over him, his eyes blazing with fury and promising brutal retaliation for the challenge. The white-haired man bursts into laughter again, taunting Vincent as if he has touched a nerve. Vincent seems stunned, his gaze frozen in a silent question. The white-haired man answers with a poisonous smile and throws a name at Vincent: Alessandro Moretti. He describes Moretti as ruthless, even toward his own blood. He even kept his own daughter locked away until she broke. Then another photograph appears, and Vincent stops breathing. The face in the picture is Ava, Vincent's own sister and Nick's future bride. The blow lands directly against his heart. Vincent freezes, his eyes burning with icy fire. The mocker exposes Ava's secret and the addictions that nearly killed her. "Enough!" Vincent growls, cutting off the vile words and refusing to hear any more. Vincent turns away, declaring the matter private and closed. Looking back one last time, Vincent says prophetically, "Next time, it will be a real war." Vincent's footsteps echo through the room as he leaves, abandoning the white-haired man with his malicious smile. "Think you'll escape that easily, Vincent?" the white-haired man whispers. He promises him much more fun, and the words sound like a deadly threat chasing after him. Vincent doesn't listen. He walks away with quick, decisive steps, his thoughts far elsewhere. Meanwhile, in the garden of a luxurious mansion where peace reigns, a serene life continues quietly. Ava, Vincent's fiancée, sits in the shade, absorbed in a book and enjoying the sunny day. A phone call cuts through Ava's solitude, and Vincent's name appears on the screen. She answers, instantly sensing trouble as Vincent demands her location. Ava's surprised eyes widen when she sees Vincent appear directly before her, agitated and lost. She feels his closeness, but deep confusion fills her eyes. Vincent steps back while Ava studies his sudden anxiety. A heavy sigh leaves his chest, and his eyes close as if he is fighting unbearable pain. He gathers the strength to speak the words that will change everything. A sharp voice interrupts, demanding why they are on his property. Ava recognizes her father, Don Moretti, and tries to explain something, but the words stick in her throat. Vincent straightens and requests a private audience about something important. Don Moretti seems surprised by such boldness, but curiosity flickers in his eyes. Inside the study, a massive desk divides their escalating tension. Vincent asks the Don whether he truly imprisoned Ava. The master of the house calmly turns his back and answers with contempt. "So what if I did?" Vincent's fists clench. He can barely force out one word. "How?" His voice is filled with anger and disbelief. "How could you do that to your own daughter?" Don Moretti merely smirks and calls his feelings pathetic sentimentality. His words revive images of Ava drugged, drunk, and unrecognizing. She resembled a lost soul whose inner light had faded into an abyss of despair. Moretti claims one heir's death and Ava's destruction demanded action. Vincent rages. "You beat and imprisoned someone grieving her brother?" But Don Moretti merely looks away, as if he doesn't hear the accusations. Moretti mocks Vincent's weakness and condemns his brazen intrusion. Vincent only clenches his jaw, struggling to restrain his boiling anger. He announces that he won't leave Ava under the Don's care and will take her with him. Moretti calls Ava family property. Vincent angrily cuts him off. Don Moretti's rage boils over when Vincent refuses to back down. Vincent firmly rejects his words and insists that Ava isn't anyone's property. As though placing a final period on the argument, Vincent spins around and heads for the exit. Meanwhile, Ava paces nervously outside, sensing the approaching storm. She anxiously wonders whether to intervene or keep waiting. A heavy sigh slips from her lips as she tries to calm her worry. The doors open and Vincent appears on the threshold. Ava questions Vincent's confrontation, but he abruptly grabs her hand. He says everything is settled and drags her home. Ava desperately tries to make him speak and demands an explanation of what happened inside. Vincent abruptly stops, frozen by something he sees. Vincent reveals he knows how brutally her father treated her. Sincere regret fills his voice, and he whispers, "I'm sorry," wishing he had discovered the truth sooner. But then his gaze hardens, and determination ignites in his eyes. He turns to her and admits that her father has crossed every line. Ava calls it private history, but Vincent demands the truth. Vincent's jaw tightens again, and his silence says more than any words could. Vincent sarcastically asks whether he should ignore everything hurting her. Ava stumbles through an excuse, insisting that it isn't serious enough to come between him and his father. Vincent makes a sudden move, and fear flashes across Ava's face. He carries her away, refusing to leave her there another minute. Ava protests that everything is happening too fast and that she is nowhere near ready. But Vincent is unyielding, his cold gaze piercing her and promising that he won't accept a refusal. Anxiety is visible in her eyes as they begin moving, as if on command. The enormous building towers above them, and a gleaming, elegant car is already waiting at the entrance. The car door opens with a creak, inviting them into the impenetrable darkness of the cabin. A tense silence, full of unspoken questions and oppressive thoughts, hangs inside. Vincent sighs heavily, as if trying to cast an unbearable weight from his shoulders. Ava timidly suggests collecting the things she needs first, but Vincent gives a short and absolute no. Ava exits and walks away, but Vincent immediately calls her. His hand comes down on her shoulder and stops her halfway, like an invisible chain. He asks where she is going, but Ava coldly replies that it is none of his business. Vincent apologizes, then argues their actions were equally reckless. Vincent reminds her that she has always hated their father's control, so why surrender to another man now? His gaze is piercing when he points out the striking similarity between their behavior. Ava accuses him of dragging her away without asking what she wanted. Vincent refuses compromise over her safety. Ava quietly acknowledges him. Despite her outward understanding, resentment still burns in her heart. Needing space to cool down, Ava leaves him behind. His gaze follows her retreating figure as it dissolves into the gold of sunset. With a groan, Vincent covers his face with one hand and desperately curses the situation. Ava walks along the busy streets, the click of her heels her only companion in this troubled hour. Every step echoes with bitterness and deep confusion. Then something stops Ava cold, pinning her in place like an invisible hand. In the crowd, Ava wonders how hopeful mourning became devastation. Vincent's face appears before her mind's eye, along with his piercing, determined gaze. And although she knows the reasons for his actions, resentment still smolders deep inside her. An unexpectedly familiar voice pulls her from her painful thoughts, and she turns around in surprise. Jimmy stands before her, his smug smile unpleasant, but she still forces out his name. The threads of fate sometimes weave themselves into the most unpredictable and dangerous knots, and the thought of a cold cocktail tempts her with the promise of at least temporary oblivion. Jimmy sits beside her, immediately hinting at her recent argument. His hand slides over her forearm, and his voice drips with false sympathy. He leans close, whispering vulgar promises about spending the night together. Ava looks at him with cold detachment, not a trace of her former affection in her eyes. Ava regrets her former recklessness while Jimmy questions her silence. Without hesitation, she shoves him away and cuts off his brazen advances. His wounded ego can't endure the rejection, and Jimmy spits angry words about how worthless she is. But only detached understanding flickers in her eyes. Back then, she didn't care who rescued her from reality. Jimmy's burst of rage doesn't fade, however, and losing control, he tries to grab her again. But then, as if from nowhere, a stranger appears beside them, and his presence instantly ends Jimmy's aggression. The mysterious hotel stranger flashes through her mind, startling her heart. Jimmy questions the stranger's arrival and receives a cold warning. To leave no room for doubt, he adds that it isn't a request, but a direct order. A sharp pain pierces Jimmy and makes him cry out in surprise and fear. Muttering under his breath, Jimmy hurriedly leaves, abandoning the two of them alone at the bar. With a smirk, the stranger remarks that he didn't expect to see her surrounded by such unpleasant people. But he immediately corrects himself and admits that watching them was actually rather entertaining. "Is that why you keep appearing around me?" she asks quietly, without taking her eyes off him. The stranger says addiction doesn't automatically make someone trash. "You investigated me," she whispers. He confirms her reputation is public. Her gaze dims as she sinks into a whirlpool of unhappy thoughts. Tilting his head, he asks why her past troubles her so deeply. "I'm just tired," she answers, slowly stirring her cocktail. Tired of the shadows that followed her relentlessly, like a cold, unyielding guard. Tired of every step being darkened by past mistakes and preventing her from moving forward. The man opposite her only watches her unspoken pain in understanding silence. Her past stalks her, whispering that she is equally worthless. And this harsh, merciless world teaches that submission can be achieved only through brute force. He calls her almost innocent compared with the surrounding predators. It is a world where only beasts without pity or morals survive, where compassion is an alien concept. Here, friends become stepping stones, and relatives become profitable targets. It makes no difference who suffers, their own father, brother, or even fiancé. Everyone in this vicious circle is stained with blood, so who is she to judge others? And does any of them have the right to cast a stone at her, an ordinary drug addict? She sought comfort, but he offers only life's brutal truth. He sighs, casually noting that she seems somehow Russian. He knows her goal. She came to America for one single wedding, the wedding she wanted to stop. She challenges him, but could he really change the course of events or influence another person's decision? Her words sound like a sentence. She is only a pawn, incapable of deciding anything for herself. The final decision rests with his father, whom she must approach. The faint tapping of her fingers against the table betrays her internal struggle and acceptance of the inevitable. Her return seems hasty, but where else could she go except into this uncertainty? The sudden touch of his hand against her face breaks their usual distance and interrupts her thoughts. The world around them begins to sparkle as his lips touch her hair, erasing every boundary between them. "Run any time and call me," he promises, erasing her past. She laughs uncertainly. He smirks. "We're mafia. This is normal." But her inner voice repeats, "I truly don't understand him." With a light, "Bye," she turns away, leaving the noise of the bar and the unanswered questions behind. With the faintest smirk, as if sealing the moment in his memory, he nods after her. Even after releasing her, he seems unable to let her image go. The thought that she is slipping away like a flame brings a shadow of unease over him. With every second, his desire to possess her ignites with renewed, almost painful force. The silent elevator climbs relentlessly toward the ominous 80th floor. Lost in thought, Ava feels a slight jolt as the doors slide open. Nick's penthouse. Ava realizes that his place never meant the grand Caponelli mansion. The nighttime city spreads beyond him as he broods silently. He's upset, she thinks, remembering their fight felt like farewell. Without turning from the nightlights, Nick says dryly, "You're probably tired. Go get some sleep." Her gaze, filled with confusion and hidden pain, fixes on his indifferent back. She predicts tomorrow's silence. He says anger and alcohol make discussion impossible. "Why do you always treat me like I'm broken?" she demands. "I'm not drunk," Ava exclaims. But his answer sounds almost like a challenge. "Aren't you?" In the same second, Nick raises his phone and the bright screen illuminates her face. It shows that very moment, her kiss with another man at the bar. "How do you explain this?" His voice is cold and her face twists in shock. The photograph hangs in the air like a sentence, displaying her betrayal with merciless clarity. Her pale face silently pleads, but he sees only evidence. Her gaze darts about, searching for an escape from the web of lies she has spun herself. Her tight lips promise an explanation that refuses to emerge. She begins explaining, trembling as she softens the painful truth. But fire blazes in his eyes, unwilling to accept those words or those weak, almost childish excuses. Fear erupts through his anger. "You could have died, Ava." Overwhelmed, he hides his face and asks to postpone everything. Ava refuses, demanding an explanation immediately. Exhausted, he says, "I don't want to stay angry anymore." She realizes silence has made every possible answer useless. Every step she takes echoes dully through the empty room, carrying away the final grains of hope. The slamming door leaves him alone with silence and shattered dreams. Against the cold door, she struggles to control her trembling. Wiping tears, she tells herself nothing happened and forbids herself crying. Golden daylight cannot disperse the shadows consuming their hearts. A slow, hesitant step toward her door carries the desire to somehow make amends for the night before. A timid knock waits like a question that could change everything. He stands with a cup in his hand, his voice gentle, but still carrying a note of concern. He offers to talk, leaving the decision entirely to her. Only silence answers, leaving him unsure whether she sleeps or resents him. His anger has faded into anxiety, and when no answer comes, he decides to enter after announcing himself. The door quietly opens, and he steps inside with the cup in his hand, calling her name. But what he sees makes him freeze as icy terror grips his heart. Ava thrashes feverishly in bed, and Nick forgets everything else. Her hand jerks in a spasm, revealing not merely a dream, but a struggle against something invisible. Her consciousness slips along the edge, and through the feverish haze, Ava whispers, wondering whether she is ill. Her throat burns with unbearable thirst, and every breath is difficult. Her body blazes with fever like a fire consuming her from within, and in her agony, she imagines that this is punishment. Punishment for the pain she may have caused Nick. Imagined eyes surround her as she wonders why everyone gets angry. All she ever wanted was understanding, but she received only pain and distrust instead. Then a familiar, cool hand touches her forehead, cutting through the darkness like a ray of hope. Whose hand is it? The thought flashes through her fevered mind. Nick bends close, promising the IV will soon ease her pain. He gently strokes her hair, his touch like balm upon her tormented soul. Slowly opening her eyes, she sees a radiant world, and a soft sigh leaves her chest. They float together in the golden haze, and Ava thinks this must be a dream. Then her eyelids tremble, and the dream world begins to dissolve. Ava's eyes fly open, and she sits up and looks around, but the room is empty. Then her eyelids tremble, and the dream world begins to dissolve. Ava's eyes fly open, and she sits up and looks around, but the room is empty. She lowers her bare feet onto the cold floor, acknowledging reality. A faint laugh leaves her lips, concealing disappointment. Nick has probably already gone to work and left her alone. But a sudden voice makes her flinch. Waiting at the stove, he asks gently how she feels. Embarrassment washes over her, but she nods in reply. Nick smiles and holds out a plate of fragrant, steaming soup. Steam rises over the creamy broth, promising healing and comfort. Ava can't believe that he prepared this remedy for her himself. It is a family recipe, and he made it while looking forward to her recovery. At the table, the only sound in the awkward silence is the quiet clink of dishes. She pauses before asking the question troubling her. She questions his absence from work. He refuses to leave her sick. Her heart tightens at the remorse filling his words. Is she nothing but a burden to him? She remembers yesterday's argument, the guilt and the awkwardness. The gentle, reassuring touch of his hand interrupts the flow of her thoughts. You aren't a burden at all, he says, looking into her eyes. He apologizes for losing his temper and explains that it came from his fear for her. The truth is, Ava blamed herself for everything, her addiction, her stubbornness, and her inability to stand up to her own father. His reaction is a mixture of shock and confusion. Why would you think that? Wait. At last, she looks up at him and asks about the Asnikov family. I know they're a mafia family, she answers calmly. A heavy sigh filled with foreboding leaves his chest. He had suspected that something was wrong ever since the dinner with their fathers. Now it is clear. Don Moretti never told her anything. Maybe that is why she always seemed so lost. He slides the cup toward her and looks into her eyes. Just then, an image rises in her mind of the white-haired man and his sinister smile. And why he is a threat to you, he adds in a serious tone. He takes her hand and tries to calm her, their touch merging into one. Do you know why your father wants you to marry me? He asks, drawing her close. She shakes her head, and he decides to begin at the beginning. America's underworld is controlled by two families, the Caponellis and the Morettis, he begins. But now a third force has appeared, hungry for its share of that world. I'm talking about the Asnikovs, he says, and a shadow falls across his face. Their cruelty exceeds anything the others have ever seen. And the shadows deepen, because the feud between them has been sharpened by years of bloodshed. That man targets her only because she is Nick's vulnerable point, and if necessary, he won't hesitate to kill her. The thought freezes in her horrified eyes. He grips her hand, protecting her from the world and himself. He can't forgive himself for thinking that she went to the enemy willingly, despite all his warnings. Realizing her father hid everything, she feels painfully blind. She recalls the stranger discussing addiction and questioning Nick's right to judge. He apologizes for forcing her away, but insists it was necessary. Her safety is what matters most, he says, but doubt begins to form inside her. What about your alliance? She asks. It doesn't matter, he replies. What matters is keeping the woman I love safe, he says, looking at her with tenderness and resolve. Her heart skips, and the words die in her throat. Wait, I don't understand. Ava looks away. We barely know each other. Confusion is reflected in her eyes, while her soul races in search of an answer. You don't know the real me, she begins. I'm indecisive, cowardly, and unpredictable. I can't be the woman you want me to be, she says painfully, looking into his eyes. He says nothing, only a faint smile full of understanding touches his lips. His quiet laugh makes her flinch. Hey, don't laugh, I'm serious. No, that's not it. Smiling, he remembers their first conversation about relationships. He recalls her hatred of becoming what others expect. She understands. He looks at her, and something more than mere memories can be seen in his gaze. I can barely sleep at night, he confesses, holding her close as if trying to protect her. And whenever you're near, I constantly have to pretend that I'm calm and in control. In his dreams, he sees himself with blood-stained hands, surrounded by the shadows of other people's lives. I always hurt people, echoes through his mind, and the people close to me inevitably suffer, his inner voice continues. My life is an endless nightmare, he whispers in the silence of his torment. The horror freezes in his wide eyes, reflecting the bloody abyss of the past. And so he can't find peace, spending his nights silently watching distant lights and trying to escape himself. She clings to him. Nick, the Asnikovs are coming after you because of me. If I cared, I'd end this engagement and protect your life. But in truth, she can't let him go and can't even bear the thought of it. Holding her, he admits she makes him feel completely ordinary. Tears shine in her eyes as she realizes the true weight of his words and understands his pain. I'm the unwanted one, he says, tightening his embrace. His fist grips her clothes as terror of losing her pounds inside. You opened my world, gave me hope, and taught me trust. Let's kiss when we wake up in the morning, he continues, looking into her hopeful eyes. Sunlight touches his face, promising a new, pure day free from shadows. We can take evening walks, visit amusement parks, and have picnics when the weather is good. And she promises him all of those simple joys. Her words become a promise, binding their fates together. He whispers her name almost inaudibly, like a prayer. Tenderness, pain, and hope for their future blend together in that kiss. Tears gather in her eyes, tears saying goodbye to the past. He holds her close, feeling every beat of her heart. Through her tears, a realization takes hold. I can do this. But reality waits for its moment to invade their fragile world. Elsewhere, beneath the cover of night, her father impatiently waits for her call. His voice rings with irritation and authority as he demands that she return immediately. Ava tries to object, feeling the tension rise, but Nick decisively takes control of the situation. Ava will stay wherever she wants, he states firmly, and ends the call. The dial tone is like an icy shower for her father. "How dare they!" he roars, hurling an object onto the floor. Rage blinds him, and the realization of his own helplessness boils inside. His plan to use the marriage to strengthen his position collapses overnight. "They left me no choice," he growls through clenched teeth. The sudden ring of a phone tears through the silence and brings the promise of another turn. A hand reaches toward the screen, ready to answer the call of fate. The distant caller introduces himself briefly and authoritatively. He immediately confirms the deal involving coveted Caponelli territory. At the other end, Don Moretti answers with a devilish smirk, his very name a promise of danger. Bare-chested and relaxed, he confirms the predatory offer remains open. Elsewhere, Ava grips the cold tile with all her strength, fighting not to lose herself completely. Nick pins her beneath the shower's rushing water, and Ava gasps for him to slow down. But Nick doesn't listen. His kisses are too passionate, causing her either pain or delight, or perhaps both. Overwhelmed, her consciousness fades as her quiet agreement weakens. Morning light crosses the room as Ava sits up, struggling to remember how she ended up in bed. An anxious thought pierces her, making her hold her breath and stare into the emptiness. Did she really lose consciousness last night after being swept into the depths of uncontrollable passion? Seeking Nick, she opens the door to an unexpected guest. Her friend is waiting on the sofa, surrounded by shopping bags and wearing a serene but perceptive expression. The visitor's cheerful entrance clashes sharply with the genuine horror on Ava's face. Ava sits across from her, still unable to gather her thoughts as they dart like trapped birds. Her friend says urgent business took Nick away before dawn. The women face each other amid sunlight and unspoken questions. Ava insists she can take care of herself, but her friend says Nick is simply worried sick. She teases that Nick searched all New York to find Ava. Ava concedes, promising to stay while dodging further questions. A firm grip stops her attempt to escape. A commanding voice, like an icy prick, stops her and asks where she is going. Smiling mischievously, Jane suggests enjoying themselves while Nick is gone. Fear and confusion fill Ava's eyes at the unexpected proposal. But instead of the nightmare she expects, something entirely different begins. A gentle transformation. Every dress fits Ava as if it were designed for her alone. With every new look, Ava comes alive, surprising even herself with how natural it feels. The stylist praises her effortless beauty, but criticizes her hair, giving Ava an unsettling sense of déjà vu. The makeover recalls carefree dress-up games with Bella. Silence hangs in the air, as if concealing a whole range of unspoken thoughts. In the mirror behind Ava, the other woman's reflection carries a complicated, almost sorrowful understanding. Sadly, Jane discusses arranged marriage and Nick's lifelong sacrifices. There is something else in her voice, too. Amazement at how genuinely happy Nick seems beside Ava. That sincere, radiant version of Nick is almost unfamiliar to her and stirs longing for the past. Swallowing her pride, she thanks Ava sincerely and asks her to take care of Nick. Ava admits Nick makes her genuinely happy too. The touching sincerity brings a mischievous smile and playful teasing to the stylist's face. Once the transformation is complete, the stylist announces that it is time to leave, catching Ava off guard. With a slight sparkle in her eyes, she tosses the car keys into the air. "Somewhere beautiful," she says with a mysterious wink, anticipating the coming adventure. Confusion becomes admiration, though their sudden arrival remains unexplained. The girl's gaze falls on an approaching man whose arrival answers the silent question. Nick's unexpected appearance eases her concern as he explains that he was released from his work early. His serious gaze fixed on Ava speaks of something far greater than a simple walk. His extended hand and gentle invitation to walk make her heart stop in anticipation. They wander together along a path drowning in the golden glow of sunflowers, walking toward the fading sun. But deep contemplation is visible on Nick's face, causing Ava to worry despite herself. The man remains silent, his back seeming so broad and distant against the blazing sky. Then he speaks her name, and a spark of hope and anxiety appears in her eyes. Memories of the past, of their first ride together, come alive in her mind. That day, filled with laughter and carelessness, now takes on a new and prophetic meaning. His lips tremble as he prepares to say something that will change their lives forever. The girl looks at him, understanding that this moment will be truly fateful. Nick lowers himself onto one knee, revealing a velvet box containing a dazzling ring. Time stops as he asks the question that echoes through her heart. Ava's eyes widen in shock, and the world around her freezes while waiting for her answer. He continues, confessing that despite the fate arranged for them, he truly wants her consent. It matters to him that she make this decision freely, following the wishes of her own heart. Embarrassed, he admits that he hurried so he could propose before the beautiful flowers withered. But he immediately adds that her agreement isn't an obligation, only something he sincerely hopes for. His voice trembles, but she has already pressed herself against him, cutting off his doubts. Then the answer comes, slicing through his fear with unwavering sincerity. Surprise and disbelief fill his wide eyes as her gentle hands touch his face. From a distance, through the golden rays of sunset, Jane watches their fates intertwine. She mutters under her breath, remembering the early wake-up and hurried shopping meant to buy them time. But then the corners of her lips twitch into a faint, mysterious smile. In the end, their faces glowing with happiness are the best reward for all the trouble. At last, the Moretti mansion blazes with light for Ava's grand engagement party. Crystal chandeliers illuminate a hall filled with whispers, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Congratulations pour in from every side, creating an atmosphere of universal celebration. Amid the festivities, he stands, thoughtfully sipping wine, his gaze wandering across the hall. He searches for someone among the guests, his eyes closely following every figure. A certain gentleman enters his line of sight, his appearance radiating smugness and calm. Away from the commotion, against the nighttime city, another conversation full of hidden meaning unfolds. Every celebratory step hides another layer of invisible intrigue. Old friends unexpectedly join him, and their cutting remarks only heighten the general tension. Between jokes and congratulations, the central question finally hangs in the air. Where is Ava? At the question, genuine concern flashes in Jane's eyes. Whispers and speculation spread quickly, while the groom's face darkens with rage. He tries to calm them, but at that moment, a distinctive sound attracts everyone's attention. Then, as if from nowhere, the clear click of heels echoes across the hall. She walks lightly and confidently, drawing every gaze with her grace and elegance. The groom, who had been clenching his fists, freezes, his eyes widening in sudden amazement. With a faint, slightly mischievous smile, she apologizes for being late, but he doesn't let her finish. With a sharp movement, he pulls her close, and their lips meet in an immediate, passionate kiss. The world around them disappears, and without drawing away, he whispers that he wants them to be alone. His gaze holds tenderness and hunger, He wants all of her to himself, far from everyone else. Her cheeks flush, and her heart beats faster at such sudden honesty. But the idyll is rudely interrupted when disapproving shouts rise from the crowd, demanding, "Free Ava!" Groom's face darkens again, but her gentle hand on his chest slightly tempers his anger. Smiling, she softly reminds him about the guests and the need to greet their relatives. He clings to her until she promises she is completely safe. Promising to return soon, she walks gracefully deeper into the hall, leaving him alone with his sadness. The sound of her heels rises again as her gaze moves over the familiar faces waiting for her. The teasing doesn't stop. Ava's friends openly mock the groom, driving him out of his mind. Just then, one of his men approaches and says only one concise word. The word, "boss," makes him flinch. Could it be his father demanding his attention? But then a piercing squeal rings out, filled with sincere, infectious joy. It is Ava's friends, who surround her excitedly and shower her with compliments and admiration. Ava only laughs shyly, sharing their unexpected but deeply welcome happiness. Ava, however, can't rid herself of anxious thoughts about Vincent, his silence, and his strange irritation. Unaware of her fear, her friends demand an introduction to the groom. Smiling, Ava nods and turns gracefully to present her betrothed. But then a strong hand suddenly grabs her wrist. It is Vincent. His gaze is dark and his words are clipped. "Ava, we need to talk." Ava's heart tightens with sudden fear. She can't understand the reason for such an abrupt change. Without waiting for an answer, he drags her through the crowd, leaving astonished guests behind them. Ava fights back and reminds him how important tonight is, but Vincent refuses to listen. His voice is firm and resolute, leaving no room for argument. "You are not marrying Nick Caponelli." The words hit like thunder. Ava jerks her hand away as if shocked, disbelief twisting her face. "Father put you up to this, didn't he?" she breathes, bitterly insisting that the choice is hers. Her anger grows with every second, because no one has the right to dictate her life. "You don't know anything!" Ava screams as rage boils through her. His hand closes around her forearm again, his grip powerful and controlling. "Nick Caponelli. Ava," Vincent growls, his eyes burning into her. Nick suddenly appears, breathless and alarmed by the shouting. "What's going on here?" he asks, while Ava looks fearfully at Vincent, who steps between them. Vincent turns on Nick like a predator and hurls a shameless accusation at him. Vincent reveals Nick killed a relative, freezing both Nick and Ava. With chilling precision, Vincent names Nick's twin brother Andrew and accuses Nick of killing him. He claims Nick personally murdered Andrew and deceived everyone. The floor seems to vanish beneath Ava as the world starts collapsing around her. Every word hits like a blow. Ava stumbles, unable to stay on her feet. Chaos erupts across the hall, but through the shock, Nick catches every movement and every sound. Ava crashes to the floor, the dull impact tearing through the deathly silence. Someone screams her name in desperation, but Ava is already sinking into endless darkness.